Chris Cuomo has a very interesting point to make here about Donald Trump's administration's promises of transparency to the American people that he made time and time again in his 2024 campaign, saying that he would be the most transparent administration ever on anything that the American people wanted to know, right? The whole idea of drain the swamp and Washington's corrupt and Washington lies to you, but not Trump, right? Trump's a truth teller. Trump's going to tell it like it is and hide nothing from the American people, right? Right. No, that's not what we've seen so far. And Chris Cuomo here has a very interesting point to make in relation to UAPs, where Donald Trump's administration promised transparency on the UAP topic, and what we've gotten is a whole big fat nothing burger up to this point. Let's go ahead and head over here to News Nation. Check out this clip.
Diagnosis pattern was and how often Biden was going and what they knew in the past. And how would it have mattered in the presidency? The public should have been made aware a long time ago. Really, Mr. Transparency, like with the UAPs, when you promised us that we would get the information that Biden didn't give us and you gave us nothing?
So all throughout the winter of last year, we know that in New Jersey, there was all sorts of reported sightings of what are dubbed as being drone sightings all over the state. But the thing is that these objects that were being sighted were demonstrating things that drones don't do, like in some cases being completely silent and being much, much larger than drones, and in fact having different physical characteristics of the objects that commercial drones simply do not have. And what we heard from the Biden administration was, don't worry guys, this is all just hobbyists, people practicing their hobby of flying drones, and don't worry about it, we've got it all under control. But that didn't really stop what people were seeing, which continued specifically in the area of New Jersey, where in many cases these unidentified drones were flying over even sensitive military installations. And we heard time and time again from the Biden administration to not worry about it, that they've got everything under control. And what Donald Trump told us during the campaign was that he was going to get to the bottom of the situation in New Jersey. And on his first day in office, in fact, he told Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, to investigate what was happening and to release everything. We haven't gotten anything. Nothing whatsoever from Donald Trump's administration has been released in relation to the New Jersey drones, really calling into question just how transparent with the American people Donald Trump's administration wants to be, which is not at all, not surprising to me. But, you know, this is the guy who keeps saying promises kept, promises delivered. You know, we're doing what the American people mandated us to do when it comes to immigration. But what we're seeing here is a stunning lack of transparency on an issue that he continually chastised Biden for, which was, you know, this New Jersey drone situation. But not limited to just that, the Epstein files Donald Trump repeatedly promised to release. Now his administration's getting pushback, blowback for not releasing diddly squat when it comes to the Epstein files. And some have speculated this may be because Donald Trump himself may be named in those files. And in fact, it was said a few weeks back that they were going through each and every one of the pieces of evidence that they had, and basically reviewing anybody that was in there. And what some people were speculating is, yeah, if Trump was in there, then they would want to go through everything and get Trump out of any damning evidence against him. So that could be a reason why they're holding up the release of these files. And here I got an article here from The Independent. It says White House has no specific timeline to release Epstein files despite Trump's promises. The Attorney General invited MAGA influences to see the first trove of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now the White House says there's no specific timeline to release the rest. Pam Bondi released the first phase of declassified files on February 27th related to the now dead sex offender. She even invited some conservative personalities to the White House to see the files for themselves. Conservative commentator Rogan O'Handley, known as DC Drainio online, was among one of the first groups who was given a white binder labeled The Epstein Files Phase 1. I can assure you that the Attorney General and her team are working on this diligently, Caroline Leavitt said before calling Bondi a bulldog. So, and then it says here, on the campaign trail, Trump vowed to release the documents. The White House has vowed to be committed to transparency as the president signed an executive order regarding the declassification of documents related to the assassinations of JFK, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King. So, where are these files, right? Where are they? The Republicans are in control of the White House, the Senate, the Congress. If they want to release the files and be transparent with the American people, not only related to UAPs, but also related to Jeffrey Epstein, do it, right? Where is the people in the right with torches and pitchforks? Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. Let's not give them any ideas. I mean, they freaking brought out the torches and pitchforks already one time. But you guys understand what I'm saying. Where is the widespread outrage from, not just one or two people in MAGA media who say, this is a little fishy that this hasn't been released. Where are the people who voted Trump into office, who demanded transparency on these issues, for it to just now be just not something that's talked about at all, or that the American people are demanding to see at all? I don't get it. I don't get it. Anybody other than Donald Trump would be having their feet held to the fire for saying one thing in the campaign and now doing another. It's a slap in the face to the American people to promise transparency on these various issues and then to get in office and not do any of it, right? And to instead focus your resources on taking rights away that have been granted to people for a long, long time and punishing immigrants simply for trying to make a better life here in America. It really just kind of shows you that I've said this before on this channel, probably a bunch of times at this point, there's no through line of a core ideological structure of the Republican Party, quote unquote. And this is why, MAGA is a cult. right? It's not a party, it's a cult. And the reason is because of that lack of a through line of ideological belief, where even if the boss, the head honcho, diverts from a core ideological belief that the party has, okay, well, no, we need to hold that leader accountable and, you know, get them to come to understand that their political future is in jeopardy, based on not following through on the core ideology of the party that wants this or that to be accomplished. There's none of that, right? There's none of that in the Republican Party. It's the Congress has become a rubber stamp to Trump, and everyone in the administration is a rubber stamp to Trump. This is a big departure from the first time around, where you had people who were standing up to Trump, and you had some adults in the room that kept the freaking thing glued together the first time around. We don't have that this time around. We have a bunch of loyalists and a bunch of yes men and a bunch of rubber stampers for whatever the heck Donald Trump has said that day, or the previous day, or the previous week. And what this leads to is things like UAP transparency just completely falling to the wayside, and not hardly a peep being said about it. You know, it's not something that should be acceptable, right? Not by a Democratic administration, not by a Republican administration. The American people deserve answers on these issues, not redacted answers, not dressed up press releases from the Pentagon meant to sway and control public opinion, right? We, the taxpayers of this country, right? The government works for us, or it should anyways. It should. Any information that the government has about UAPs or Jeffrey Epstein, right, it should be public information, because ultimately we, the people, are funding the government to investigate things like UAPs and investigate people who are sex offenders, and to tell us what their wrongdoings were. Tell us who was involved in participating in heinous sex crimes. If the government knows that, the American people deserve to know that. And we should demand nothing else than full and open transparency from Donald Trump's government. But it doesn't seem like MAGA cares enough for this to come to light. I'll be very surprised if we get anything more on UAPs or Jeffrey Epstein or any other sort of issue that the Trump administration promised transparency on. And really, this just highlights how much Donald Trump just lied through his teeth to the American people during his campaign. Straight through his teeth. Lie after lie after lie was told, and unfortunately, MAGA does not seem to want to hold Donald Trump accountable for those lies that he told, such as him being transparent and open on UAPs and Jeffrey Epstein. That's all I got for you guys in this one. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Take care.